Alright, today we're going to be talking about a somewhat unknown landmark of Florida. If you're from the Tallahassee area, you've probably heard of it, but if you're not from around here, then there's a good chance you may not have heard about this. We're going to be talking about the second oldest lighthouse in the state of Florida. While Florida was not one of the first states, it was still probably one of the earliest settled territories in this continent. You know, the Spanish were here long before the English and all that good stuff. And of course, the Seminoles were here long before that. But what I'm getting at is there was commerce here in Florida even before Florida was the state of Florida. So having a lighthouse leading ships to shore down a safe path, it was necessary even before Florida became a state. Now, the oldest lighthouse, I believe, is in St. Augustine, but today we're going to be talking about the St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge Lighthouse, which is located in St. Mark's, Florida, about 30 minutes south of Tallahassee.
The city was a bustling port, all sorts of commodities coming in and out. So the harbor was so crowded, they needed a lighthouse.
Constance Klein.
Okay, if you heard that part correctly, the harbor that they had in the St. Mark's River was very crowded, so you needed a lighthouse.
Is the visitor service ranger who gives tours of the St. Mark's Lighthouse. She says 1828 is when the first lighthouse was established on Countryman's Hill as a navigational aid for ships. Over 15 years, it was rebuilt twice until the final version that you see today finished in 1842. And that is...
So, I mean, even after Florida became a state, the lighthouse was still being used. I believe Tallahassee was founded in 1821. So this was being utilized for many years after Tallahassee was founded, which the St. Mark's River comes right below Tallahassee. I'm not sure if ships necessarily could come all the way into Tallahassee like that. I'm pretty sure the river wasn't big enough for that kind of commerce, but it was big enough for, a decent size of commerce.
The first of 20 lighthouse keepers and their families moved in.
The keeper who stayed here the longest was John Young Gresham, and he was here for 31 years. But the keepers were not always men.
Wives would take over after their husbands died, creating a legacy of lady lighthouse keepers.
And the first woman who took over was Mrs. Ann Dudley, and I like to think of her as the first bed and breakfast host here in Florida.
So if you're not familiar with what it takes to be a lighthouse keeper, it is not an easy job. I've always said that I think I would love to be one, just because you're kind of out on your own on the edge of the water, and ships depend on you to make it safely to the shore. But it's not only a lonely job, but a very hard labor profession.
To have the sailors come in and get a hot meal and stay overnight.
Creating centuries of untold stories heard only through these walls.
Al Kudra, who's now a grown man, came up to this window and he told me that every night before he went to bed, he looked out the window to make sure the beacon was going out over Appalachia Bay so that all the ships would be safe.
As a boy, Al lived here with his dad in the late 1930s. This is when the Coast Guard took ownership of the lighthouse for the next 20 years. It wasn't until after 1960 that the lighthouse had an automated light continuing to navigate boats.
Now, I'm not entirely sure they still use the light, because they have like marked channels now with lights on them and stuff, so the lighthouse part wasn't necessarily as needed, but I could be wrong, so let's listen a little further and find out.
Decades later, in 2013, is when the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service took it over and made it part of St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge, refurbishing it to the historical site you see today. Up a 78-step staircase to a light that still shines over Appalachia Bay today as the...
So I was wrong. It's still shining. They're still using it, so that's pretty neat. They only allow you to enter the lighthouse facility a few times a year, so it's not always open to the public.
Story of the St. Mark's Lighthouse continues.
Okay, that was it. The reason I bring up this landmark is because it's, if you're ever traveling to the Tallahassee area, it's something you could hop over to pretty easily, and it's just a neat part of Florida history. There's also parts of Florida that are directly north of there that have some Civil War history to it. So if you're a Civil War buff, you could check out, I think it's called Natural Bridge, which is also on the St. Marks River. I think it's technically considered in Woodville, though. But anyway, I just wanted to show y'all this interesting landmark because it's somewhere I actually like to go and check out anytime I have a little free time. It's, if you know the right way to get there, which includes a couple of dirt roads, it'll take you like 20 minutes to get there from where I live. So it's a fun place I can ride down, take my dogs with me sometimes. You have to be careful about taking your dogs, though, because it is a wildlife refuge, so there are plenty of gators, and they have Florida panthers and bears and snakes, lots of snakes, and I'm sure there's something else I'm forgetting that is harmful to dogs. But so you can't just, take them out there and let them run willy-nilly. You got to take them to the right spots to be able to do that. So, but I like to go down there because it's very unheard of. Most people do not know about it, and if you go to the areas where the beach is, a lot of times you can take a walk on the beach without a single person anywhere in sight. So it's very peaceful. You kind of get to feel like you're out there on your own for a minute. But the lighthouse part is very unique to this area. There's a couple other lighthouses in the area, but this one is by far my favorite, just because of the history behind it. So if you're ever there, definitely go check out the St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge. Go check out the lighthouse, and then they also have like fun bird watching trails and stuff. There's tons of beautiful exotic birds there. So anyway, that's episode 6. I know it wasn't much, but I'm going to try to put out short episodes sometimes, long episodes sometimes. This one was just something that's always been very interesting to me, so I figured I would tell a short story about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, let all your friends know about your favorite new podcast. I'll see you next time.
Say, Chad, that beat all the way retarded.